In 1954, Gamal Abdel Nasser seized power in Egypt and proclaimed himself the new leader of the Muslim crusade to drive Israel into the sea. First, he negotiated the withdrawal of British troops from the Suez Canal zone. Not long after, the first Soviet ship since World War I passed through the canal. Russia had a vital interest in the strategic waterway. The Egyptian leader refused, however, to let Israeli vessels use the canal. Once again, the Muslim nations of the Middle East encircling Israel, outnumbering her in population, 60 million to 3 million, plotted new and provocative actions. Nasser negotiated a military alliance of Arab nations to include King Hussein of Jordan and King Saud of Saudi Arabia. Syria also joined in the treaty as the Arab bloc witnessed its solidarity to the world. In November 1956, Israel invaded Egypt to wipe out border bases that, she said, had been used to attack Israeli villages. Within a week, France and England intervened on the side of Israel. French paratroops dropped on the canal zone, while British invasion units waited ashore below. Nasser suffered his worst defeat since coming to power. His army was no match for the Anglo-French-Israeli forces. Thousands of Egyptians surrendered. The victorious soldiers of Israel had been directed by General Moshe Dayan, a daring and brilliant field leader. The Israeli army was in complete command, the victory secure, when the United Nations acted, and with American backing, Secretary General Dag Hammarskjöld persuaded the British, French, and Israeli forces to lay down their arms and withdraw. Traveling to Cairo, the Secretary General negotiated an agreement with Nasser that would enable a UN peacekeeping force to take up border positions on Egyptian soil. The intervention of the United Nations brought to an end the second grave crisis in 8 years in the Middle East. But again, Israel had extended her borders. Again, her conquests had displaced tens of thousands of Arabs from territory claimed as their own. And again, no real basis had been found for a lasting peace. Hailing the UN intervention, Nasser claimed a great Egyptian victory. And throughout the Arab world, he was compared to Saladin, hero of the Crusades. As the years pass, the Egyptian leader begins to speak of still another holy war against Israel. Militarism again is on the march, and even the very young are caught up in Nasser's crusade. Purchased with Egyptian cotton, Russian equipment makes up the backbone of his armed might. Then in 1967, the Egyptian leader turns to the Gulf of Aqaba to translate threats against Israel into provocative actions. In a dramatic announcement made in Cairo, Nasser tells the world that the Strait of Tiran, controlling access to and from the Gulf of Aqaba, is being closed to Israeli shipping. The action cuts off Israel's water link with the Red Sea. While the United Nations struggles to preserve the peace, the Egyptian leader takes still another step that will involve directly the UN. Secretary General Ufant is informed that Egypt will no longer allow the UN peacekeeping force to remain on her soil. Israeli aircraft go on alert as Egyptian troops move into the Sinai Peninsula. And when Israeli border towns are shelled, the pilots are ordered to attack. The Israeli aircraft, taking off from widely scattered bases, fly carefully coordinated patterns, striking simultaneously at targets in Egypt, Syria, Jordan. The surprise attack gives Israel complete control of the air. Hundreds of Egyptian planes are destroyed, and Syria and Jordan suffer similar crippling losses. The Israeli military machine, toughened by 2 earlier wars, unleashes a lightning strike that will overshadow